running out of food, but the Chinese place, the ethnic places, they were all still open, delivering food on bikes and stuff. Okay.
What was your biggest challenge when you were first becoming a professional potter?
Biggest challenge?
Yeah.
Probably the same challenge, biggest challenge there is now is marketing. You know, I never had any classes in school for business or marketing, and I think if you're seriously considering it, you should take some classes in business or marketing. Because I didn't take any classes like that, and I don't know if it would have helped me, but I would at least known why it, you know, why it's so hard. It's marketing is. There's people that work full-time at marketing. But when you're going to be a potter, you got to do everything. You got to be a marketer. You got to buy your own supplies, unless you're collaborating with other people, which isn't a bad idea. But marketing is at least half the work. That's why if I have work in a gallery, I don't have a problem with them keeping half the money because they're doing half the work, I think. I'd just as soon hand it over to somebody to sell than me sitting around looking at it. It's fun when it's selling like fast, but a lot of times at an art fair you end up taking your work on a ride for, you know, the van, put the pots in a box and say, let's go for a ride. They don't care, they'll go anywhere. But marketing was the biggest challenge then, and it still is, I think. And I always liked making pots, so that wasn't a challenge, that was just fun, making and firing pots. But, you know, there were challenges involved by figuring out how to fire a gas kiln for the first time, how to fire a wood kiln for the first time, but they were good challenges. You know, and even marketing is a good challenge. When you're challenged, you got to think in a little different way sometimes to solve problems. But I would definitely think about taking a class in business or marketing. You know, there's got to be different rules for marketing handmade things as opposed to like buying and reselling.
A good resource for that right now, like in the immediate sense, Springboard for the Arts is doing a 12-piece workshop on, they call it, it's quote unquote work of art, and it's a free, they're doing 12 workshops that are 3 hours long a piece, 1 month apart, both in the Twin Cities, and I'm going to them out in St. Cloud, and it's the stuff that that you can't, just the straight facts, you know, that you'll have to know when you set up your sole proprietorship or whatever, who you're going to have to go to, what you're going to have to tell them, and it's free.
Yeah. Living in Minnesota, we're really lucky for the support artists get through grants and through other things that support the arts. The guy I met once who was opening an art gallery or art center in a town just north of us, he came from the East Coast, and he said people in Minnesota are actually really spoiled because they are offered a lot of things for free. You know, public gets a lot of chances to see art for nothing, and a lot of artists can really literally live off grants. He said out east that doesn't happen. And people in Minnesota don't appreciate, you know, what they've got going here. But there's I'm sure most of you heard about the Legacy Amendment. There's a lot of money there for artists. Minnesota State Art Boards has money. And like Lewis said, Springboard for the Arts is in Minneapolis. They offer a lot of courses, free courses in marketing. And there's colleges like this college that are pretty, I mean, this has actually a low tuition here, doesn't it? I heard. Mm-hmm. I mean, this facility is, there's not too many other colleges in Minnesota that have facilities like this. throw in the top part. I think another good alternative for people starting out on their own is like what Lewis is doing. Find someone who will work with you for a while, or work together with someone else to share expenses, or maybe even share the same kind of work.
Takes a lot of the mental strain out of it, a lot of that unforeseen anxiety.
Plus,
Does help.
working with someone else is kind of an inspiration, kind of wants you to get out in your workshop. I work more now than in my shop since Lewis is there than I otherwise would have. I kind of get a little lazy if I don't have an incentive. I'll do a work cycle, I'll make stuff, glaze stuff, and fire stuff, and then I have a tendency to just not lay around here really, but, don't go back in my shop for a while.
Do some civic duties.
Well, there's civic duties, and then there's also the marketing part. What do you do with this stuff once you have it? Unless you got orders for everything, which would be one way to do it. But when you get orders for something, then, gosh, you gotta do it. Then then there's that problem of, I have to do this. Maybe that's fine for you, but for me, I just, when I hear somebody tell me I should or I ought to, I immediately dig my heels in. I don't know why, but it's just, ask my wife. It's just part of my genes, I guess, huh? And since Lewis comes, I hate it when he gets out there before me because it makes me look lazy. I'm glad he doesn't get there too early.
No.
I'm sure Lewis thinks the same. God, that he's lazy.
Oh,
How
for
can he do
sure.
this?
No doubt. Especially with the 5 or 6 people that stop by every day to have you sign things.
You don't know I'm putting your name on stuff, though.
Yeah.
I always have to remember where the foot pedal is. I was making some large pieces in my old workshop, which is pretty small and tiny. And my kids were pretty small then. They were standing around watching me. I had an order for a couple pots, and they were about this tall off the floor. One was finished, one was still on the wheel. My daughter said, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom," and she needed help, so I said, "Okay, I'll take you in there." I had the foot pedal, I put it up on the table, so I wouldn't step on it. My son was there, and I said, "You just make sure this pot doesn't fall off or something. Just give him something to do." He said, "No, I'll come with you." And he said, "I'll turn the wheel off." "Oh!" Before I could say no, he pushed on it the wrong way, and the wheel went, and the big pot went around and hit him and kind of knocked him back a little bit. He fell to the floor, and he was about ready to burst into tears. And I just said, "Oh," I was kind of mad, but I just said, "Oh well." And I went in and I said, "Make some artwork out of it now." But his lower lip was starting to go. So I went in real quick. I didn't want to make him feel worse than he did. So I came back and he was busy stomping on it, putting patterns in with his sneaker. So I like to keep my conscious of where that foot pedal is. Before I came here, I was cleaning these bats off and I had a bucket of water on the wheel. Yeah, I know it's gonna happen, but it didn't happen. I had managed to put the bucket in the exact center of the wheel. So I did step on the thing and the water kind of went up a little bit, but it didn't fly off the wheel. I would have blamed Lewis anyway for something.
Yeah. I'm like Mr. Wilson. Lewis! Yeah, I did get a lot of something's dirty. Lewis!
Well, Chris, we did a workshop at the Design Arts Center yesterday, and he stepped on the pedal accident and threw a piece he just made off of it. We all said, you just did that to make us feel good. Happened to you too.
Well, it gives you a rush of adrenaline for one thing. The adrenaline actually feels good, I think. I like the rushes of adrenaline.
Yeah, turning bowls into plates.
Well, no, just getting scared in general, I think is kind of healthy, actually, I think. I try to scare my kids anytime I had a chance. And I said, I know you're mad, but doesn't it feel good? Feel that energy in your body. Doesn't it feel great? I think I got them to appreciate it. So now I gotta make a top for that. This has to get stiffened up here. I do. We're working on it.
Sure did.
Fuse?
I don't know.
Come on. And the electricity. There's a fuse on there.
Can't tell.
It's kind of blowing.
No, that's it.
No,
It's one of those.
is that a glass one?
No.
You know,
I don't know.
well,
See
I'll
what
use
you-
this here.
Hold on. Here it is, well, here it goes flat. We're on the same chord, I think.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not you. Salute.
Yeah, Lewis.
Jumping jacks, that makes it a little better.
one off.
Just make the neck over there.
That could be necklace. 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 Without a neck.
It's quite funny.
Necklace. Good necklace. Yeah, come on. That's over That's not.
Mark, where's the suit? Yeah.
You went to the restaurant, you got raw soup. Couldn't you?
Now Teresa would be here. Sherry. Both of them are gone. That's weird.
Shuffles them towards ASAP. Go get some
I'll
soup.
just buy an entire pizza for down in the
Just one. I developed some of these pictures from the St. John's. Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna shoot a whole row because the lighting's fine and it turned out pretty good. It's good.
Do you have some bats that I could use if I'm gonna leave like a large
Yeah.
piece here? I mean, I'll leave
They're
these
not-
here, but.
They're not
Take-
fancy like yours.
I know, but, so I'm gonna take these bats back.
Yeah. Oh, just put these on? Oh, yeah. So you don't need bats right now.
Let's go.
So anyone have any more questions there? Anything about like,
You were talking about marketing.
Yeah.
Does the economy affect sales very much? Or
you know,
the downturn, or are those people so rich they can afford?
well, I think that most people who buy handmade stuff are probably pretty well off. And what I found, when the economy started going south, I sold more high-end stuff. But, yeah, it does affect it, but last year, I think was probably one of my better years. And it seemed like it was way too easy.
I was wondering, because you mentioned Tom Turner before,
Yeah.
on his video, he said that the guy's got a lot of money, he doesn't want to drink his coffee out of a $10 mug or a $50 mug. Wants to drink it out of a $100 mug.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I know a couple other stories about, value of things too. Peter Volkus was in Japan once, and they gave him one of his own tea bowls to drink out of, and he said, I just assume prefer a styrofoam cup to drink out of. He said, no, you have to use this one. God, but the lip on it was so sharp and everything, I cut my mouth. I said, I hate these damn tea bowls. And Malcolm Davis, famous for his Shino glazes, had a good example of a Shino glaze and a bad example, or a pale example of a Shino glaze, two tea bowl shapes. And the customer said, why is this one so much more expensive than this one? And he explained to the customer that, well, this is what it should look like. This is a much better example of the Shino glaze and what I do, and a much more valuable piece because everything worked in this piece. This piece, it didn't work. But if you can't see the difference, then just buy this cheap one.
Yeah, exactly.
And they bought the expensive. They didn't want to be stupid.
Didn't want to know.
That's all marketing schemes.
Exactly. Let's give people the
So in something like ceramics, which it's so much about promotion and self-marketing and putting yourself out there, what do you tell someone that knows maybe marketing and apprentice or internships and things like that, and how you're supposed to put yourself out there? How do you give someone motivation just to do it, even if that's their weak point? Perseverance of marketing. That's a horrible
Find
expression.
someone to do it for you.
Yeah.
If you're not good at something, you can spend a lot of time on trying to get better at something you're not good at and don't want to do anyway. So focus on what you're good at. And you find someone who else can do what you don't want to do, pay them, trade for them, or do something, make an arrangement. But I think you can spend a lot of time trying to get better at something. You know, some people have the philosophy of, you know, focus on your bad points so you can get better at them. But, you know, that takes a lot of time, and maybe you don't want to do it anyway. And it's up, you know, it's a personal choice. I would just as soon have somebody do it for me, because I'm not good at marketing. And if someone else will do it for me, that's better.
See, like I've taken a whole bunch of entrepreneurship, marketing, sales, and I just hate that part about business. Any business I've ever been a part of, that's just like my downfall. It's like you have to put yourself out there as a,
Yeah.
you have to be proud of yourself in a way, you know, like, oh, look at this and this and
Well, you
this.
do.
It's like-
I mean, that's okay to be proud, but I know what you mean. It's kind of against the nature of me anyway, to be out there trying to feel like you're bragging or feel kind of not clean after you do it.
Yeah.
That's just my point. I mean, my personal point of view. Some people do wonderful at marketing themselves. But if you can find somebody to market them, if you go to an art show, one thing nice about going to art shows, you get a feedback from people right away. And if it matters or not to you what people think of your work, you know, you can use that too. If people say, I'd like you to put more cats or birds on your work. You know, you can or you can't. If you're in it for the money, or if you're in it for, depends upon what you know you're in it for. You want to get rich, you're going to put cats and birds on your stuff. If you just want to make things what you think are beautiful, and the money's not as secondary, it's necessary, but it's not the reason you're a potter, is to get rich. Then you probably won't do what people tell you to do. You'll do what you want to do. Randy Johnson told me once, when he started out making pots, he was a functional potter when he started out. He said his first show, I thought, man, I got to make all these things because that's what's going to sell. And he came back from his first show and second show and realized things weren't selling as good as he thought. So then he just started making what he liked to make and what he wanted to make. And it showed up in his work. I mean, he was making stuff that he wanted to make, and it looked better. Because it was more of what he was. So it's a kind of a product-driven approach as opposed to a market-driven. You know, if you want to make things for the market, then you're gonna go to Target or Kmart and see what the colors are that are selling, and have a designer tell you what kind of motif is hot. You're going to try to match people's couches, fabric colors. And you can certainly make it work that way. But I don't think art's supposed to match people's couches.
They gotta buy couches to match the artwork.
Yeah.
And you gotta wake up 5 days a week and get your ass to work on your own energy. You know, there's no one that's gonna yell at you if you don't go to work that day. So that was the most important thing to me, was that is still that I can get myself up and without too much badgering, be happy to go to work. You know, you can't make pots, you can't sell pots. And if you burn out, you can't make pots.
Well, who knows, in 20 years, you can maybe get by without even having to sell stuff. You might be able, maybe our whole economy is gonna change to a barter system, who knows? I mean, you can live in a system where you trade for a lot of your stuff too. I traded, paid off one of our kids' orthodontist bills with pots. I didn't think it would work, but my wife said, I mean, what can it hurt to ask them? So I sent a letter out to them, I said, what did I say? I'm going to be unloading my kiln during this week, and I'd like to give you a preview of what I have before I take them to my galleries. Maybe we can work out a trade for the remainder of the bill. And I tried, I said to my wife, I sent the letter out. His wife called me up like 2 days later and said, I want to come over and get some stuff. He came over and, I mean, took about $2,500 off the bill. Nice.
That's fortunate.
The hardest people to trade with are mechanics. How long did it take you to make that? So the proper answer is however long you've been making pots, say 10 years, and then add on an hour. 30 years and 1 hour. How long it took me to make. It's like it's lunchtime, isn't it? Get this one decorated.
We got some brushes if you want.
Well, I'm gonna kind of match that one. I know it's getting all over the floor, but
No, it's fine.
So we got janitors for.
And that's why they hate us.
And that is exactly why they hate us. He says the only thing clay's good for anyways is to throw it up in the air and shoot it.
is that a janitor?
Yeah, that's what it gets.
Well, he's not in the art building anymore. He told
Yeah.
me he's in the
He
music
is though.
building.
I've seen him here. Seen him here
Yes,
every
on
night.
occasion.
Oh,
Oh, he's
It's like a nightmare.
I don't know. They say 80% of people aren't happy with their jobs, but it seems like artists are always pretty happy with what they're doing. Wow, that's what I said.
That doesn't mean it's not work anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
I guess maybe it's what you're in it for.
Whoops.
Can't get them all marked.
Well, this will be my last piece before lunch, I guess. You know, if you guys want to see me do a demo on something specific, I'll try to do that too. Like lids or bowls or something, I don't know.
You can make it this way. No, you gotta.
He's gotta put, those oil spouts in them, so they can be oil decanters instead of continuous. That's what I do with my Mondays, and someone knows what a Mondays is, so.
See, but yours are big enough. Yours would work perfect size.
I'm gonna put this one right where it is.
Nice fresh pottery.
Well,
Right
thanks
on.
for bearing with me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great.
I apologize that, I told some of you that we would have soup and, and I don't know, all of our commitments fell through.
There's
So
a place
we
to
do.
get food here.
Yeah, there's a place we can go get food, yeah. A couple of places, there's a cafeteria across the way. We do have some apples and, some
Very good
cakes.
baked goods,
Yeah, so. Baked goods are good. We haven't brought those. So you might as well have your pre-zert instead of dessert. It's pre-zert.
So after our break, what should we take, half hour or 45 minutes or something?
Half hour.
Half hour? 1:45, we'll meet back here.